Welcome to Enterprise Unleashed Business Law and Innovation with experienced business strategist and trial attorney Richard P. Kuei. My man, the closer's in the building. Richard prides himself on striving to maximize his clients' desires, outcomes, in transactional and litigation settings. I'm Evan Mack, and today we're joined by business and marketing coach Michelle Kuei. Michelle is the founder of Elevate Life Coaching, where she helps coaches build successful businesses through stronger messaging, personal branding, and client attraction strategies. She also is the author of Perfectly Normal, an immigrant story of making it in America. Today, we're talking about what it takes to build a brand that stands out and consistently attracts the right clients. How are you guys doing today?
Evan, how you doing, man? Michelle, thank you so much for coming on the show, too.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm hanging out with two handsome men. I mean, you cannot beat that kind of afternoon.
All right, Michelle, we starting off right. Richard, listen, this is my new favorite person. We got to interview her every week.
Let's get it.
I'm down when you are.
So, Michelle, I know we're going to get into all the wonderful things you've done with your career. But first, I want to start with how you immigrated from where exactly you were from. You were living where originally? In Taiwan?
I was born in Taiwan, and my family and I immigrated to United States when I was 15 years old. So I came here for junior high and went on to get my college and graduate degree.
Wow, yeah, let me hop in real quick. So Michelle, with that, that's a great question to start. What did you find was your toughest challenge as far as immigrating? Was it learning the language? Was it just was it fitting in? What was it to kind of get you started on the journey that you're on?
Funny how you asked this question. I was thinking about this morning. So I'll talk about my story a little later. I'm sure that's going to come up. But one of the hardest thing I learned on my journey to here in this country was speaking English. So the fact that I'm here conversing in English with you, that took me years to feel comfortable. And even now, I still call myself, I have Chinglish in my English. So excuse me for my Chinglish. There's a little bit of accent in there. So the hardest thing was learning the language. I didn't have the right vocabulary, which surprisingly, it also shaped how I do marketing now. I'm better at marketing because I had spoke broken English. So the way that I learned English was learning, explaining without using the word. So that's Kentucky Fried Chicken. I couldn't use the word chicken, so I have to describe what it tastes like, what it looked like, right? It's the thing that run with two legs, the one that we found in the farm. I didn't have the right vocabulary to describe what I need to describe, so I explain things without using the word, which is great when I apply it, and nowadays I'm a better marketer because of that. So we'll get into that later.
You have an incredible story about resilience, identity, and perseverance. And I want to know a little bit more about that. From what I understand, you had a really horrible injury as a child, right?
Yeah. So I was born in Taiwan, and when I was 11 years old, I had a big car accident that led to my permanent disability. So right now, I am 4 feet 4 inches tall. I walk with crutches. And that was the result from that car accident that took place 11 years old in Taiwan. I was coming off from school one day and waiting for my mom to pick me up. And as I was crossing the street to meet her, there was a taxi that ran the red light, hit me, pushed me 100 feet away from where I was. By the time I woke up, I noticed I was in the hospital. I was surrounded by my family member and doctor. They were discussing what they wanted to do with me. And as I looked down, they stabilized me with the plaster. So I was in a cast from waist all the way to my ankle. I had multiple broken bones from my thigh to my legs. And from there on, I spent 3 months in bed, not being able to go to school. And there was a long journey of recovery after the accident. And that's how I grew up. I'm short because I probably never grew since I was 11. And when doctor released me from the hospital going into rehab, they asked me to wear the metal brace for both leg and walking with crutches. So from the outside, I looked like someone who had polio, but I didn't. And it was a label. Yes. So going back to Evan's question, which was harder, learning how to walk or learning how to talk? Learning how to talk was more difficult than learning how to walk.
So how did this experience like carry over into your professional life? Because we're going to get into some of the wonderful things you've accomplished after this accident, and more, let me say it, rephrase it, in spite of this accident, in spite of all the hardships and a lot of people doubting you. How did that affect you?
I feel looking back to my journey, one of the biggest lesson and probably one of the biggest value that I learned now that I exercise every single day is the word empathy. And I think that empathy is such an important values and characteristics and character that you can bring into your everyday life, no matter where you are and who you are. Empathy is about knowing, learning, and understanding what the other person is going through without experiencing that person's experience. And growing up, I always had this peer judgments and people talking about me behind my back, in front of me, kids pointing their finger at me, adult passing me by and turn around and gave me this look. And that made me feel small, and it translated into how I was seeing myself as someone who's small. Small not in the physical sense, but small inside of my heart. I didn't believe in what I do. I didn't have a lot of confidence in knowing what I need to do. So empathy was such a great thing that I had developed from that journey. And going back to the resilience, once you have the empathy, there's also it helps to becoming stronger, not by pretending, but knowing. There's a sense of knowing that, hey, if I can recover from one tragedy, I can probably recover from another tragedy. And I use the same skill going into the different kind of tragedy that or challenge I'm going to experience. So those are the two things that I feel had really shaped how I am and how I show up today. Empathy and resilience are two big ones for me.
So this all happened. You were still recovering from the accident at the time you immigrated to the United States, right?
Yes. Wow. Yes.
Wow. So we're talking about overcoming not only the accident, the language barrier, but also a move across the entire planet.
It became an identity.
Well, yeah, of course. What advice would you give to some of our audience, especially our younger audience, on how to overcome such difficult challenges or such obstacles?
I have this analogy of describing everyone as diamond, and I truly believe everyone is diamond. You may not recognize your diamond. Right now, you're probably one rock that's buried somewhere. But the advice I have for everyone is you got to start seeing yourself and believing in yourself that you're this incredible diamond that's waiting to be discovered. And you are. You truly are. Now, right now, you might not see the shine. You might not see all the values in being that diamond because you're covered by these dirt. And we're all covered by this dirt when we're growing up. And that's what life journey is about. All these challenges and obstacles that we face and experience every single day, it's chipping away a part of that dirt from this beautiful diamond that you are. So the fact that you are a diamond, it doesn't change the fact of whether you're tall, you're short, you're big, you're small. It doesn't change anything around that. You're still the diamond, right? Diamond is a diamond.
Well, diamonds are made by definition, they're made under pressure.
Yeah.
So that's a great analogy. I love that. I'm going to credit you with it, but I'm going to use it. That's we're all diamonds, and we have to especially recognize that within ourselves when we're under this immense pressure. So you went from essentially being paralyzed and bedridden for several months as a child to hiking a 26-mile path through the Inca Trail all the way to Machu Picchu. Talk about overcoming adversity and not letting somebody tell you what you can and cannot do. Let's hear the diamond version of that.
So yeah, that journey happened when I was in my 40s. Yeah, I know I don't look 40s, but
You do
Not
not.
at all.
so I woke up one day and I'm like, this is not the life I imagined that I wanted to have. And by that time, I was very accomplished in terms of my degree. I was working a full time as a pharmacist. So everything that anybody can dream of, I was there. But I was so unhappy about my life and who I was, and all these relationships, and whether it's internal friendships or intimate relationship. I was not happy about my life. I just hated it. And I woke up one day, I said, well, I don't want to live this way and feeling this way forever. So what can I do to change? And that was the moment that sparked the journey of hiking that Machu Picchu. The first thing I did was buying a Pilates ball. Believe it or not, it was a Pilates ball that started it. I went and bought a Pilates ball. I start working on it. I'm like, there's got to be a way for me to get into shape, exercise a little more, be healthier. The next thing you know, Pilates ball turns into a gym membership. That gym membership turned into a personal training. Personal training turned on, hey, I've been thinking about going on this hike. And my personal trainer reached out to me and he goes, well, where do you think about you wanted to go hike? I said, well, what about Inca Trail to Machu Picchu? And his jaw dropped, eyes pop, and he's like, wait, Michelle, let's think about this for a minute. Let's just think clearly. People die on Machu Picchu, right? And people fall off the cliff. They never make it back. I said, yeah, but this is Michelle. Michelle is different. Michelle either will do it or die. Either way, I'm going to do it. And it was a test for me to whether or not I can do the things that everybody else does. It was a competition of me against others.
At what point did you realize that this disability, which it's really not a disability because it hasn't stopped you from really doing anything that you decided you want to do? So I applaud you. God bless you for that. But what point did you realize that that wasn't your identity, that you weren't, small as the way, like how you put it, and that your identity was much greater? In fact, it was, to your words, it's diamond. At what point did you make that transition mentally, physically, spiritually?
It was day 2 on that Machu Picchu trip.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So it took you into your 40s to really make that understand, to really have that understanding of yourself.
Yes. Because up until that point, I still thought I was disabled and people treat me the way because of how I look. And it wasn't until day 2 that I realized if I made it day 1, and day 1 was pretty hard for me because I was pushing down on my crutches. It was 3 miles into the hike, I realized my wrists were burning. They were dying. Because if you think about how I was walking, I walk with 2 crutches. So every step that I take, it was a push-up. So I was using a lot of upper body work. So I was doing push-up and it was pushing down my wrists, and my wrists were burning. They were dying. And I thought I would never make it to day 2. So day 1, my the leader had set me down, and he said, well, Michelle, you were the slowest one on this trip, in this group. I don't think you're going to make it. Now you
Yeah,
have
but
options.
don't tell me what you can and cannot do. I love that.
Thank you. So I sat there, I almost cried in tears because there's no way I am turning around and going back, because going back means that, oh, I'm going to live that identity again. But that's not the life I wanted. I wasn't sure what the future looks like, but I knew that's not what I wanted. The past is not what I wanted. So at that point, I had to make a decision. Do I want to go back and just believe that I won't be able to make it? Or do I continue this journey and knowing that, yes, I'm going to take a little longer? So I did end up taking longer on that Inca Trail. So normally people start at 7 o'clock in the morning. I started 5 o'clock in the morning. So 2 hours before everybody else, just so that I can make it to the campsite on time.
And you did that whole 26-mile trail in crutches?
Yes.
Wow. And so it really was just the fact of making it to day 2 that made you realize that if you just keep moving forward and pushing forward and believing in yourself, step by step by step, you eventually make it to day 2, and then day 3, and then eventually to the top of Machu Picchu.
Yes. Yes. And you know, it may be little tiny steps, and that's all I could focus on. And so people were like, "Oh, how was the scene?" I was like, I didn't pay attention to the scene. I was paying attention to my steps.
Yeah.
So it was difficult.
Did this help push you into becoming a coach?
Yes, it certainly had. When I came back from the Machu Picchu trip, and that was the point where that identity shift, I realized that I could do a lot more. And how can I be of service to other and let my story, because you have to remember, I carry 40 years of self-judgment, doubt, lack of confidence, all that negative self-talk that was going on in my mind, 40 years. And I wanted to serve, to be somebody who can provide the insight to other, or even just sharing the story to inspire others who can change, just make that shift a little quicker. Maybe they don't have to wait 40 years to realize that that's not their identity. So I came back. I wanted to help more people. So the first thing that came to my peripheral was, oh, there's a term called life coach. I had no idea what life coach was. Do people actually get paid for doing that? And I wanted to do it right. So I thought, well, there has to be some type of school or certification that you can go into that it will allow you to, without spending 4 years in that other schooling, because I already got that. I already got 8 years in. So I enrolled myself into a life coaching certification program, got myself certified, and I said, well, okay, so that's great. Now what? So little did I know that journey, that enrollment, that the moment I signed up, I started my business journey.
That's great. Now, actually, I think this is a good stopping point. So what we're going to do is start our next episode. That way we leave the audience with a little bit of something to look forward to. We're going to start our next episode discussing your life coaching experiences. We're going to talk about Elevate. We're going to talk about your book and all the wonderful people you've helped. And hopefully we can give our audience, some tidbits to help in their own lives.
Of course.